In this video, I'm going to take you through a full day of my live crypto trading, and I'm basically going to show you my complete day trading process, the specific trades that I take with the entries, exits, real profits and losses, so you can basically watch from my session and hopefully learn from my trading. Okay, I've been day trading for over 8 years now, as well as documenting this process for over 5 years on YouTube. So these live trade videos are a series that I like to do every so often, just to show you guys the realities of executing these trades in real time and sort of reinforcing some of the concepts that we have on the private side of our trading team that are really drilling into the full intricacies of the concepts that I'm going to be sharing with you guys in this session. And while it's awesome to have the private team cleaning up using these strategies, as always, I want to be providing value to you guys on YouTube. And still one of the most requested videos are live trade videos. So that's exactly what I'm going to do in today's video. I'm going to show you me getting into these trades, managing these trades, and if all goes to plan, hopefully we're able to hit our $3,000 goal for the day. I'm of course going to try to exceed that, but that is going to be the goal. Right now it's about 8:51. So let's kick things off with the session, get set up, and find our first trade of the day. All right, so every time I'm starting a day trading session, these are the three things that I'm pulling up on my computer. So first off, I have my crypto exchange here. Okay, this is where I'm going to actually be placing all of my individual trades. Down here, I have my Notion sheet, which basically has my entire trading session scheduled out with a step-by-step process that I like to follow to make sure that I'm in check with things. Okay, and then this is where I'm going to be logging all of my trade information to actually track and show you guys in real time what I'm doing, the profit or loss on each trade, so we can understand where we are. This is one of the biggest things in trading. You have to be tracking what you're doing like you're tracking a business. If you're not tracking things and you're just taking random trades, you actually have no shot at actually doing day trading properly. Maybe if you're investing and you're just aping into things, you can get lucky without tracking things. But for day trading, you have to keep a journal, which is why I use this Notion. If you want access to this Notion, follow me on Instagram in the description, DM me the word tools, and then I'll send you over a whole tool suite that will give you access to this journal, which you can customize and you can use for yourself. Okay, we'll go a little bit more into that later. But next thing that I have over here is my trading view. This is where I'm doing all of my analysis and charting for the day. I have my iPad set up here, which I can use to sort of look at my macro pairs. I also have my overall analysis for the crypto market over here on my left, just to keep an eye on what the macro pairs are doing. But what we're going to be doing today is trading a strategy where essentially what the goal is to find major swing points in the market. So whether down here or down here after significant moves. And I'm going to use a strategy where I basically find what's called a fair value gap. So I can basically enter somewhere like here with an expectation that this level will be hit before this level's hit. So considering I'm risking 500 today, if I get a trade like this, that means I could be able to make $3,000 on a scenario like this using the data tested analysis that I'm going to be sharing with you guys. Okay, and of course I can't share everything to be fair to the private team, but like I always say to you guys, my goal is for you guys to be able to get started for free on YouTube, have the proof of concept to see if trading is really working for you so that you're already making money. And then if you want to take it to the next level, we also have that option. But that's my goal overall, to keep it fair to everyone. But basically that's how we're going to be trading today. All right, so anytime I'm hopping into a day trading session, what I want to do is just zoom out to what's called a larger time frame. Okay, I'm going to be day trading on a 1 minute frequency. So basically on our chart, you can see all these individual candles here are showing me 1 minute worth of price data, right? But what I want to do before I'm getting into a session is sort of take a look at what's going on with the overall market. So I'm going to go out to something like, say, a 30-minute time frame, maybe even an hour, and then I'm going to take a look at some critical areas. And the first thing that I'm noticing is that these lows were tested, got a big push. Price action dumped underneath this level and is now sitting right underneath this exact point. So a lot of people could be thinking, oh, this moved down a lot. This is ought to move up and make a significant move to the upside. Either way, I might trade in both of those directions. But what I am noticing right away is that oftentimes when we do see something like this is something called an underside retest. Okay, so basically whenever you have support where the price is essentially bouncing off of that lower level, once it does break that and is testing it on the opposite side, this can give us a really sharp reaction to the downside, which could be a really good trade catalyst. Now I do need this to match up to my what's called trade criteria. So basically a checklist of requirements for me to be entering into my position in the first place. But this is sort of what I'm looking at as far as trying to get a general idea of what I could expect with the market. So let's look at some other critical areas. All right, so I'm also noticing on a daily chart here, this is sort of our lower trend line levels. Okay, so if we are to get a major sell-off in price today, which I'm not saying is going to happen, by the way, this level is going to be something really important to watch. All right, so basically trade thesis on the day is I'm going to see if we get a sharp reaction and then a push down to this level. So potentially a short bias initially, but if we are to either get stopped out of that trade or there's no trade setup and this starts to trend up during the day, I'm okay with taking a trade inside of this area before we start to get into this zone up here, where if we look at these lows like this up to here, we could potentially expect some resistance up into this point here. So this is really my range, up to this zone or down to this zone that I'm going to be trying to capitalize on throughout the day. We're going to see as the session develops, what those ideas sort of lead to and whether or not those are right. But now that I have that drawn out, I can kind of go back down into my 1 minute time frame. All right, so something for us to also keep in mind, at 9:30, the New York stock market is going to open, which is going to create a tremendous amount of volatility in volume that's going to pour into the market. Okay, so ideally, if we do get a roll off at this period, I'm going to try to get into an entry to try to capitalize on a short trade if the trade requirements allow me to actually take a position at that time. But if we're able to get in pre 9:30 or at 9:30, we could get a significant move down, and which could create our first trade opportunity for the day. So that's what we're hoping for. I do have multi-time frame analysis going. So basically I have like a 4-hour chart, a 1-hour chart, which will essentially let me get a overall view of the market. Today I'm trading Solana. I typically trade Solana and ETH for this strategy just because it has really good movement and the liquidity is good, so I can get in and out of the market pretty easily. I've noticed that Solana tends to move really nicely with the overall market. So the goal is to find a trade on either one of these pairs. ETH right now seems to have a little bit more of a reaction to the downside, but to be honest, the way that Ethereum sort of dumped out at this point, I wouldn't be surprised to see this sort of just vacuum fill back into this space. So I don't really know how to feel about this Sol short. I'm going to sort of let the market steer me, and we're going to see if we can tap into a short position here. And so one thing that I am waiting for before I take any sort of trade is something called a change of character. All right, and so basically if we have our overall uptrend, I'm waiting for one of these significant lows to be fully broken with the candle close underneath it. So basically, just to explain that more clearly, if we have a trend like this, we have a high, a low, a higher high, and a higher low. Okay, and then we have another move up. If we are to get, say for example, a move like this, it gives us another low, another move, and then we have a candle that fully closes underneath this low previous move. That is considered a change of character, in which case we could anticipate to see the market start to reverse out of this trend direction. Now with this type of move, we sort of have a continuation of this trend moving up where these lows really haven't been broken to any substantial amount. Okay, what I really want to see is some sort of direction, some sort of momentum in either direction that I can sort of play into before getting into a trade. Ideally, I want to take this to the short side, but hopefully we can get a little bit of momentum and then be able to tap into a trade. So as we get closer to 9:30, the volatility should increase, and then I should be able to reevaluate the market and hopefully tap into the first trade. Now we have to wait for the market to set up. In the meantime, I'm going to get more coffee, let the markets develop. This is what's good about being early to the session. We're set up, we're ready to go. We have our thesis before 9:30 hits, and then we can start deploying and getting into trades. That's how you show up prepared. Hopefully it pays off today. So now we do have a change of character underneath this level. We kind of wicked through that level and completely failed off of that resistance zone. So if the price comes up and taps back into this zone again, we have resistance, we have a fair value gap, we have that sort of blow off sweep up here. Okay, so if this taps in, I'm going to take an entry short and hopefully try to play this to the downside if we are to get a retest. All right, so I've tapped in short here off of this entry now that the market's sort of cooled off a bit. So what I'm looking for now is for the price to break underneath this level here. All right, as soon as we're able to break down through this level, I'm going to reduce my risk hopefully to 0. I really need a capitulation of the market here overall. So if this comes straight up, we're going to stop out. We're going to get out for a contained loss, but hopefully we're able to get a push and a close underneath this level here. So that's what we're waiting for now. Just needs to break that level. If it breaks that level, that's really big. That's a big sign. Hopefully we get a close underneath that level. We have 2, 1, close. Okay, so now I've basically taken most of the risk off the table here. So if this wants to come back up and whip like it's been doing in the session back up to my entry, I'm going to get out for a contained loss. But if this wants to dump off, then that would be great. But second time in a row. Come on, brother. It doesn't look good for us, folks. And we're out. So we're out for break even on that trade. Price came back up and tagged that. It's a little frustrating. We got a really good reaction off of it. But that's sort of what trading's all about, right? Like you want to put yourself in position so that if that did dump off and that was the last stop, we were in. Otherwise, it comes back up. We get out for break even. And that's that. Okay, so that was trade 1. Today's Wednesday. Solana. Dude, are you kidding me? Bro, imagine. See, stuff like this does happen in trading where it'll like tag it. And then this will be like the highest it goes for the rest of the day. I hope not. Either way though, you got to follow the rules. So 1 minute time frame. What I'm doing now is I'm inputting most of the data for this trade. I'm going to let the chart play out a little bit more before I screenshot it so I could see what happened overall. I'm marking it as a break even. I would say my confidence on this trade was a 3. I was sort of indecisive, but it made sense thesis wise. So my confidence was definitely a 3. And then the rest we don't really need to add. What I'm noticing now is technically this was the move to create the change of character. And now prices came up and tagged that fair value gap. I'm hoping prices comes up and just rips through this now just to make me feel better about this. So I'm still noticing that this is fighting tooth and nail this resistance zone zone. So this still looks kind of bearish in this situation. It is slightly tempting to get back in on this fair value gap. See, my thing is I don't want to miss this overall move on the day, because this is sort of that macro resistance zone that we're noticing on like a larger time frame. If we go out to our 30-minute, once again, like this is the point where it's coming into resistance on this overall move. So if this is to respond, this could move down for the rest of the session, in which case I don't want to miss that level. We did get a little bit of chop, but I'm going to see if it wants to come back up and fill me. All right, so what I'm going to do now at this point is wait for the market to pick a direction over this resistance level. Then once we do have that direction and a signal, we're going to take our next trade. But for now, I just got to be patient and hold off. All right, so we had another sort of price action push through this level, and now we had sort of a blow off top here again with a nice fair value gap. So if we get a candle close here, I'm going to actually tap in and try to see if we can get an order along this level. All right, so this market move started to turn without us, and we did get some sort of sell side here. So notice it overall, we have broken this uptrend here, and we got a break of this support level. So I tapped into a position right at this level, okay, with a stop loss up here. If price comes up and pokes through our stop loss, we're going to get out for a contained loss. But if this continues to have momentum and roll off into the session, I wanted to be able to get into a position here on an underside retest. All right, so price moved up back into our stop loss here through our fair value gap. So that is a loss in the books. All I'm doing now is putting this into my trade journal. All right, so we lost 635 on this current trade. Confidence level was, I would say, a 2 coming into the underside resistance, which I guess we kind of did get, I mean, at least temporarily here, but we were a little bit low in this overall move. So I like to try to catch them a little bit higher. So up here would have been ideal. So confidence was a 2 here. All right, so all I'm doing is going in now and dropping my screenshot of my trade in here so I can document that. Unfortunately, this is now moving in our direction, so that's a little bit upsetting, but we are down $635 on the day so far. 2 trades, 1 break even, 1 stop. A little bit of a confusing, hard session to trade so far, but we're just going to stay consistent, follow our process. Right now, I'll eat something, watch the markets, and then wait for another setup. I'm mogging your quantity. You take parts. All right, so we did end up getting this move down right after sort of coming up and stopping us out. Just from this little point here, we would have got the big sell-off that we were looking for. All right, so you can see sort of our anticipation from the day, and this is exactly what the move we're getting now. I was looking at the larger time frame as this as potential underside resistance here to get a pretty significant sell-off, and that's what did happen throughout the day. It was just a matter of trying to get in at the proper time, which sometimes the price action is going to be there, sometimes it's not going to be. This would have been already a 14 risk reward. So instead of -1 that we have now, we could have been up 14 risk factors. So even if we're just looking at it in terms of that, if we had a little bit better price action on the entry, we could have the option to be up like $7,000 in 1 trade already. And the reason I'm really explaining this to you too is because this is what we have to remember while we're trading. Okay, we've been controlling our risk this entire session, which is what you want to do. And just because we missed out on this opportunity doesn't mean that we're wrong. We took bad trades. We didn't take any bad trades. We followed all of our rules, but by containing those losses and making sure that we're being consistent, we're going to open ourselves up to these really, really big trade opportunities. So we have to keep our poise. We have to use all of these to have the generally right idea. And then it just comes down to getting a little bit of luck with a good entry, following the requirements over time. But even though we did miss this entry, it is good to see that our general thesis on the day of getting this rollover was correct. So even though we weren't able to capitalize on this move, it was good to see that this analysis, this concept that we had, trying to get entries in here on macro resistance actually was correct, and that our overall view plays out and allows us to make good profits on these trades. For example, one of our private team members using the strategy, 19 risk factors, saying this is unrealistic, but beautiful, big risk reward trade. Someone like Mac ended up making 94K using the strategies that he learned on the private side of our trading team. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I want to see this overall trend line being tested. So if price really wants to capitulate down to these levels, this is going to be a huge area of support where we can get a big bounce. So I'm going to be dialed in trying to follow that all day. So I really want to see some potential support down here at 186 if we are to reach it. If that is the case, I'm going to wait for the trend to sort of break out of this area, wait for a nice change of character, and then hopefully be able to tap into a fair value gap that's going to fill that void for the rest of the day. So as anxious as I am to take another trade, we really just have to wait for this to have a change of character and have any sort of bullish momentum. Ideally, we come down to this level and we're able to play a macro push on the rest of the day. But I'm just going to maintain composure for the day. I'm going to hit the gym right now while the market picks a direction. Then I'm going to look for some shorts a little bit later in the in the day, and hopefully we can get closer to our daily goal. All right, so we're back from the gym. I did some analysis on Solana here. We have price action sort of coming down on this trend and up on this trend. So we just broke over this resistance level that sort of formed throughout the day. I just drew a line along that resistance point, resistance point, resistance point. So if the price is to come down and tap the overside of this and catch any sort of support, I'm hoping that this happens before our stop loss here. So I'm going to look to see if we can get a dip entry on this to ride out into the afternoon session. We're about to close for the New York session. So if we can get this to push down a little bit, get filled, we can ride this. This is a really tight stop loss, so it's going to be a really aggressive trade. Notice how we have our change of character here. We have support along this level. On second look at this, we potentially had our level hit, overside retest into fair value gap. This change of character, that would have been really the true entry. Looking at it from a different perspective here. At this point, I don't want to take this trade anymore. Just going to remain patient here and try to read this price action and try to find another setup. It's about 4 o'clock right now, down 600 bucks. Sometimes this is day trading for you. But I still think that there's going to be a good opportunity later in the session, so we're going to keep our eyes open. All right, so price has moved up a little bit on Sol here. We had a little bit of a response up in this area, so we do have a nice fair value gap forming and a change of character underneath this level here. So I'm hoping this candle comes up, is able to retap this level and then have a capitulation down here. So looking to make about 4,000 or more if this is to fill us and start to move in our direction. So we're going to check now to see. Looks like we could get filled right here, and we got stopped out immediately. All right, so I'm actually going to consider tapping into this again here if we want to retest this level. All right, we are going to get some momentum down into this. I really do like this chart. Still not really chasing this. I'm just more of noticing a significant change in momentum here off of this trend. So I'm going to try to see if I can get in quick enough. All right, so we have a sell order in now. Lots of volatility coming in here now. So I'm looking for a close underneath this level here to reduce risk. So I'm hoping that this just goes volatile down in my direction. That would be really nice. All right, so we broke our level. Now we just need this to close fully underneath this level here. Okay, so we did technically close underneath that low. So I am going to be moving my stop loss to break even on this trade once again. All right, so risk is reduced down to break even here. All right, and so next target is down at this zone with this fair value gap. What I'm looking to probably have happen on this, if we draw a trend line off of these highs, all right, I feel like price could come down potentially to retest this level. This is kind of a key level for multiple reasons. This was the last contact point before a major move up. It's the overside resistance test. So I'm probably going to be looking, if we're able to even get this low. Once we have it here, I'll start looking to reduce risk further, but hopefully we're able to get a 1 to 6 out of this. That would be beautiful if we do get a continuation of this move down. But we have risk basically off the table, looking for a move to the downside, something like this. So hopefully we get that and we will see what happens. I was trying to adjust my original take profit that I set here. I was getting into the trade early and I was trying to modify it and cancel it before it took me out for full profit, but I was looking to hopefully hold this longer. We got out right here. That's a 4.8 risk factor trade here. I would love to have just been in this trade still. I would have rode this at least down to here and really extracted more value out of the trade, but it's a really good entry, so it's okay. We ended up locking in 2,098 on that trade, so I'm going ahead in journaling this short. I'm just going to clean up my journal here too, because I've been sort of racing in and out of position, so I really want to make sure I'm tracking which trade setups I'm taking and getting the screenshots for it. So unfortunate I wasn't able to move my order fast enough. All right, so I just finished up journaling all of my trades and getting everything organized. So after all said and done, we have a break even, loss, and then a gain, and then a win here. So we have about a 25% win rate and we're up about $600 on the day so far. I'm shooting for way more, but I'm just going to stay consistent and keep taking trades here. So I really want to see some sort of direction picked again in the market. Looks like we caught support off of these levels, as well as that sort of area we predicted getting some support at. Wasn't able to really maximize this move too much, but it's okay because we actually got out in a pretty decent area. So now I really want to wait for one of these levels to break before I'm looking to take any sort of other positions here. These are going to be sort of the critical swing points. All right, so I'm going to take a little bit of a break and then hopefully I can find 1 or 2 more trades to close out the session and wrap up around 6 p.m. and we'll see if we can find another one. So we have push up. I was supposed to have been in a position, nice push up off of this fair value gap. So really could have taken a nice like 1 to 10 trade on that position, but market sort of took off without me. So what I'm looking at now is we just hit resistance into this pocket. So if we can come back down and retest this trend, we could be looking for a nice 1 to 5. Right? I'm just trying to open myself up to opportunity to basically be able to get into a runner, see a capitulation in the market. We got a little bit of bullish activity outside of the New York Open. So I'm going to see if this can run up and fill me and be able to trade this down to the downside. So we should see momentum, should see a reversal off of this point up. Now, hopefully we see resistance off of that, not a high up to wave 5. So we just need to close under this level. This is a huge level because if this breaks down, this support, like, right, we broke above it, landed above it, retested the fair value gap. If it breaks under this support level, which kind of comes over to these important levels, this is going to be very bearish of a move. And that's exactly what I need for this trade to hopefully have a move down in my direction. So we're going to see. All right. I no longer have a good feeling about this trade. So I'm closing this out basically for break even. It looks like this is going to round the corner and really sort of catch support off of these levels here and probably break a new high. So I'm not really interested in the consolidation and then a retest of highs over there. So if we are to form a new high up here and we can have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I'll look to take another short position into some of those levels. But for now, close this trade out for break even. So my trade journal here, I think that trade was a 2. That was the right decision. We would have got stopped out for a full loss. So a $37 win on that trade. So I'm going to wait, like I said, for this to produce a new high and then we're good to go potentially for another short position. So we have a 5-wave structure coming up to here. We almost hit off of this rejection zone that I drew. With technical analysis, we have support here, resistance here, as well as our 261.8 off of this 1 wave. Technically, the change of character level is underneath this zone here, but this is a very nice big fair value gap into resistance after a 5-wave structure. So I am going to take a little stab, hopefully get this filled, and then hope for a change of character under here and a capitulation down back to this trend for 7 risk rewards. So we're going to see if we can lock in that $3,400 on this trade. All right, so after some sideways chop, this trade came up, reacted off of our trend a few times, and now, you know, who knows if it reacts off here and drops, but this fair value gap was invalidated, and so we lost a risk factor on this trade. All right, so I'm just gonna log this trade, and then I'll take maybe one more trade. I really don't want to force it. You know, I've been sort of fighting battles today, so we have a 16% win rate today. All right, so we lost 737 here. I was hoping that this would roll off, but we ended up just sort of trickling very slowly, retesting this overall trend here. So if we get momentum and some more volume into the market here off of this move, I'll consider taking maybe 1 or 2 more trades, but I really don't want to force over trading here. But I do need to step away for a second, see if we can find a few more trades after I eat dinner, and then we'll end our trading day. All right, so a little bit of a frustrating session today. Few minor changes, just being a little bit faster, getting in a little bit quicker. We could have had, you know, 13, 15 risk factors, which would have been great. I am proud that we were only down $100 being wrong, basically 84% of the time. So that's sort of a testament to the controlling risk, making sure that we're taking quality setups and trying to get in. A little bit slow, a little bit choppy, weird price action today. So hopefully we can find 1 more trade, maybe 2 more trades. It's only 7 o'clock right now. I'm gonna take a break, step away from the charts, go get some dinner, maybe decompress a little bit, play some video games, and then step back and see what we can do later into the session. It's nice when I can make videos, obviously, where, you know, I'm doing really well, but also I want to be able to share the reality with you guys, which is, you know, like if you're really trading, you're gonna be sitting there at your desks taking trades all day and you're gonna like basically no results to show for it. You're gonna have losing days, right? It's all part of this process. So, you know, part of these videos, like I want to show you guys the realities of doing this and sort of like what I'm going through mentally as I go through these sessions. Hopefully it can help you be more relatable and so you don't have like fake expectations basically of your trading. So anyway, let's get some dinner, decompress like I said, and we'll see what we can find later in the session.
Place, so you just never had space for me.
I just took another trade here off of that level, getting a nice response already. So I'll be able to manage that, but for now I'm just gonna eat some dinner and hopefully we get a good reaction off of this level.
Just again, I know more there's a change, I know more there's a king around me, so I just
We got stopped out for break even on that trade. I'm looking at another trade here on Ethereum off of this change of character. We have a mid fair value gap here, price coming back up into resistance. So I'm hoping I can tap into this and I really want to play this fade. I know that this is going to regress at some point. I'm hoping that I can play into that move. So it looks like we'll get short here, hoping for a nice turnaround once we're in. So for whatever reason, you can see the bid never got up to my order, which was placed right here. And then we had a complete meltdown. So it would have been 18R. So we would have been able to make $10,000 on this trade. So unfortunate once again. All right, so I'm taking one final trade, and if the trade doesn't come to this entry, I'm done for the day. So this is really going to make or break whether we have a positive day or a negative day. So what I'm seeing here on Solana is two important things. First thing that I'm seeing is that this overall trend that we've established throughout the day has created two breakpoint is now giving us a potential underside retest right at this zone. Additionally, if we look on a larger time frame, we have this change of character level here underneath this trend. So that means that basically this could potentially be the first level of a new downtrend. So if we have 1, 2, 3, we can potentially predict that this area will come up to resistance in here and then take a more significant push down. If this happens simultaneously and we get a continuation of price into this intersection point and we can get a proper sell signal, I think this is going to be a really, really good trade. If this fizzles out and doesn't happen in this sort of time frame, I'm done for the day and we will have lost $180 on the day. Now, if we are able to be right on this, we could end the day up $3,000-$4,000 and hit our goal. So now it comes down to how well can we predict this last move on Solana and can we catch one more trade? I'm gonna let the market play out. We're gonna hopefully get a sell signal and let's see if we can hit our daily goal still. All right, so looking at this level, price never came up to our key zone here, and now we've continued moving into the session. So that was the last trade for the day. So as I do at the end of each session, let's take a look overall at what happened for the day, and let's look over our trades and make sure everything's screenshotted and see if we can do any improvements overall. So first trade that we took here was really, really nice. We had our break of structure down. We reduced our risk to break even. Price came up, stopped us out for a break even, no gain, no loss. Second trade, we had price moving up, broke with a change of character underneath that trend, came up into our entry zone and stopped us out before making a move down lower. All right, we took a contained $635 loss as our first loss on the day. On the third trade, prices came up a little bit too high, which would have essentially been probably a 10 risk reward trade. So instead of losing 500, we would have made probably closer to $5,000, but it just wicked us out a little bit too high, which a little bit unfortunate, but we took our second loss a little bit more this time, $865. After seeing that formation, once we saw a change of character level underneath this low here, got a really, really nice entry into this fair value gap and played it down for a nice 4.8 risk reward on the trade. Ended up closing out for about $2,100. All right, this trade, we took a short position right here, almost got a close below here, sort of solidifying my position. And then I ended up taking this off the table before we saw our stop loss. We were able to lock in $34 in profit on that trade. On this trade, we got our original entry here. We never really had a full move or change of character underneath this level. So this price came up and eventually went through our stop loss. And even though we had a really nice initial reaction, it ended up going against us and going up to full stop loss for negative $737 on that trade. And then once again, really nice initial entry, reduced risk down to 0, and price came back and reversed all the way up for negative 87 on that trade. All right, and realistically, we missed about 3 massive trades that would have probably put us up, as ridiculous as it sounds, maybe 20 or 30 risk factors. And I'm not usually the type of person to say, you know, shoulda, coulda, woulda, but these were trades where we missed an entry that we had by a few cents that ended up moving 20 risk factors, which is already a $10,000 individual trade. Off of this trade that I also identified, I was like literally a few seconds late on submitting the order that I already had primed up ready to go here. And by following the rules of the system, I would have taken profit up at this level for another 10 risk factors. So 20 on ETH, 10 on this one would have been 30 risk factors, which would have been $15,000 in profit just with those two sort of minor mistakes. So we ended the day down $189 with a 14% win rate. Now, I think this is really important to highlight because we didn't take trades that we weren't supposed to take. We didn't have a blow up day where we forced ourselves to take too many trades. We contained this risk. So even by having a pretty terrible day, we still only lost $200 on the day. All right, I can go into the next trading session knowing that I only need 1 or 2 really big opportunities to put ourselves up 20, 30 risk factors. And that's really what trading is all about and really what we focus on the private side of our trading team. So I just wanted to show you guys the honest realities of this. Most people are just going to show flashy wins, massive things on videos. I wanted to show you guys the reality of my day and some of the frustrations that come with the day trading process. Okay, if you're still here, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. You can check out other live trade videos right here. If you're interested in our private team, check this out. Resources in the description. Until next time, I'll see you all in the next one.